Hey everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point. And as promised, although people don't seem to be that much concerned about the Brittney Griner situation, she is still being detained in Russia. I did promise to keep you guys updated on her case, and to be honest, I sort of had forgotten all about it. I mean, a moment of transparency, I really had forgotten about it. But then Lisa Leslie came out the other day and she was being interviewed. I think she was on the show Drink Champs. But anyway, she was being interviewed on a podcast and she made a very strange revelation. It was strange to me. So she said, what we were told, and again, this is all sort of passed along through hearsay, what we were told was to not make a big fuss about it so they could not use her as a pawn, so to speak, in this situation in the war. So to make it like it's not that important, or don't make it like free Brittney and we start this campaign and it becomes something they can use. That's what we were told. And I don't want to say who told us. I don't want to say who said that. But it's been kind of spreading around the women's basketball world. Now, I thought the statement by Lisa Leslie was kind of odd when you think about the reason Brittney Griner was even in Russia is because she has played for overseas teams for, I think, over a decade. Like for years, she has been, she'll play in the WNBA during the regular season, and then she goes overseas where she is paid like a whole lot more money to play basketball for these overseas teams. And she has been a star player in Russia for the better part of the time that she has been playing overseas. I believe she played in China, and then she may have played in another league, but for the past, however, I don't want to give a number. You can go back and watch my other videos where I actually give the number of years that she's been playing overseas. But the better part has been in Russia. So I would think that she is a superstar over there, considered a superstar over there, and that they very well knew who she was. So it didn't matter if they had this campaign, this Free Brittney campaign, like the people already knew who she was. And they probably already knew that America didn't care that they had some black women's basketball player held in custody. And then I also told you guys in a previous video that there are two other people, Americans, that are being held over there who've actually been sentenced to prison time. And their families' efforts to get them from over there failed. So why they would think not talking about it or not saying Free Brittney would make any difference is beyond me. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the latest update. They have made contact with Brittney. She has an attorney. The U.S. Embassy has gone to visit her, and they say that she is doing okay. And a few weeks ago, they stated that they were detaining her until at least May 19th. And then they talked about, how long they can hold her. And I don't know why the U.S. is acting crazy, because over here in the U.S., they detain people, arrest people on charges, and then detain them for 2, 3, 5 years without ever giving them a trial. So they can't be pointing their finger at Russia like they're doing something out of the ordinary when the U.S. prison system does the exact same thing to their own citizens, let alone somebody from another country. And so, yeah, they kind of need to chill on that. So this article is from ESPN. It says Russian media reported that the detention of WNBA star Brittney Griner was extended until May 19th, a development that could see the two-time Olympic champion being held for at least 3 months before her case is resolved. The case of the 31-year-old Griner, one of the most recognizable players in women's basketball, comes amid heightened tensions between Washington and Moscow over Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Griner was detained at a Moscow airport on February 17th, so they finally nailed down the exact date that she was detained. And you guys know that the reason she was detained was because they found a vape cartridge and some hash oil that's derived from cannabis, and that it carries a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison over in Russia. And everybody is like, okay, but it's legal over here. You can use that over here. They're legalizing marijuana. Why are they doing this to her? Because they are a totally different country with a totally different standard than the U.S. The U.S. put up with a whole bunch of stuff. They allow a whole bunch of stuff and then be walking around trying to figure out why we got all these homicidal maniacs out here killing their mamas and their childrens and people they done met on the first date who didn't want a second date, because y'all allow all this drug use and, transforming of the brain and all this other nonsense, okay? And then it goes on to say the court granted the request of the investigation and extended the period of detention of the U.S. citizen. The court approved prosecutors' request to extend her pretrial detention in order to continue investigating her case. Tom Firestone, a former U.S. Justice Department legal resident advisor to the U.S. Embassy in Moscow, said that such delays are standard in Russia and that she may be held without trial for up to a year or up to 18 months in extraordinary circumstances. A Russian state news agency reported that Griner's attorney has asked for her to be transferred to house arrest as she awaits trial, saying Russian officials are holding her illegally. RIA Novosti reports that Griner's local attorney, and I'm assuming that that's a newspaper, a Russian newspaper there, reports that Griner's local attorney, Alexander Boykov, argued before the Moscow Regional Court that prosecutors took too long to charge her or provide her access to a lawyer or U.S. consulate officials. Experts say such requests are standard and are unlikely to succeed. Boykov also submitted letters from the women's team in Ekaterinburg that she plays for, vouching for her character and prominence as a player. He said a local acquaintance of Griner's who lives near the courthouse has offered to house her for the duration of her case. The lawyer said she was held at the Border Customs office for 16 hours after she was detained at 11 a.m. Moscow time on February 17th. And then they went on to say that Griner fully supports her lawyer's position, although she refuses to take part in the hearing of the arguments. Neither Griner nor her lawyers have contested the accusations of illegal import of narcotics. They have not claimed she was innocent. So basically, guys, for those of you who were saying, oh, they probably planted it on her, it probably wasn't hers, it probably was. Okay, they're saying that they haven't contested it. They haven't said, I'm innocent, I didn't do this, that wasn't mine. So that kind of goes to show that maybe, hey, there is some legitimacy to the accusation. And then they go on. It says that representatives for Griner and the U.S. Department of State have not commented on how Griner intends to plead to the charges. The article said that prosecutors argued against transferring Griner to house arrest, saying that her detention is lawful and just and that there is no reason for reduction of restraint because as a foreigner, she has no permanent residence or registration in Russia. The U.S. Embassy in Moscow did not immediately return calls to the Associated Press when they were seeking comment. The U.S. State Department has been doing everything we can to support Brittney Griner, to support her family, and to work with them to do everything we can to see that she is treated appropriately and to seek her release. And that was a statement that came from Ned Price. And he cited privacy considerations in not giving out more details. And then the Katerina Kaluga, child, I know I'm butchering this name. It says Katerina Kaluganina, something like that, of the Regional Public Monitoring Commission, a state-backed panel in Russia that monitors prisoners' conditions, told TASS that Griner was sharing a cell with 2 other female detainees accused of narcotics offenses. Katerina Kalagina, I think is how you pronounce her name. Okay, Griner's cellmates spoke English and were helping her to communicate with staff at the pretrial detention facility and to obtain books. The only objective problem has turned out to be the basketball player's height. TASS quoted Kalagina as saying of the 6'9" Griner, the beds in the cell are clearly intended for a person of lesser height. Griner has won 2 Olympic gold medals with the U.S., a WNBA championship with the Phoenix Mercury, and a national championship at Baylor. She is a 7-time All-Star. The WNBA season opens on May 6th, and it looks like they will be opening without her. And then it goes on to say she is one of a dozen WNBA players who played in Russia or Ukraine this past season. All except Griner have left since Russia invaded Ukraine. And they were also told not to go over there to begin with. So Griner has played in Russia for the last 7 years in the winter, earning over $1 million per season, more than quadruple her WNBA salary. She last played for her Russian team, UMMC Ekaterinburg, on January 29th before the league took a 2-week break in early February for the FIBA World Cup qualifying tournaments, and she was arrested in Moscow upon returning to Russia. Former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton joined a growing contingent of family, friends, and officials calling for her release with a free Brittney tweet on Wednesday. It's unclear how much progress was being made in the case because Griner's group has been trying to work quietly for her release and declining to talk publicly since her arrest was made public earlier this month. Griner's wife, Ariel, thanked everyone for their support, but also has said little else on social media. Everyone's getting the strategy of say less and push more privately behind the scenes. It's the strategy you get from the State Department and administration. It's our number one priority in talking with her agent and strategist. And that was coming from WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert. And then the State Department has cited privacy considerations for not releasing more information about Griner's situation despite the intense public interest in the case. And basically, I haven't seen intense interest. Like, I had to remind myself that, hey, you were covering that case and you said that you would be committed to covering it to the end. And that's why I'm on here now. I just don't see the interest in this case that like if LeBron James had been arrested in Russia, this would be a totally different situation than what we have with Miss Brittney here. And then they go on, talking about Privacy Act and all of that stuff. And then, as I told you guys before, there are these 2 other Americans that are being held. And they are Marine veteran Trevor Reed, who was sentenced to 9 years in prison in 2020 on charges he assaulted a police officer in Moscow. And then a Michigan corporate security executive named Paul Whelan is serving a 16-year sentence on espionage charges that his family and the government have said are false. And U.S. officials have publicly called for Moscow to release them, and Moscow has paid them zero attention. So that is the latest on the Brittney Griner case. It appears that, she isn't contesting that she had the hash oil on her or the vape pen. Now, whether she knew it was illegal or not, we don't know, but she's not contesting it. And as it stands, it's just going through like a normal court proceeding, the same way it would here in the US, except she's being held in Russia. So that's it for me. Go ahead, leave your comments below, rate the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.